going to talk about this ridiculous European Super League again today because really it's the only show in town. And I find it incredibly difficult to talk about West Ham, the future of West Ham, and the present of West Ham without knowing the outcome, without knowing exactly what's going to happen here. Now, there have been numerous statements, and we've heard the statement today from the participants, the clubs that have already signed up, and certainly our own interest in the UK and in the six that are looking to break away and form this league. What really caught my attention, well, there was a lot of it actually, but what really caught my attention immediately was they stressed that they wanted to do this as soon as possible. Now, I don't really know what I thought. I don't know why I would have thought otherwise, but I guess for some reason there was some latent thought in the back of my head that thought, well, this might be a long, drawn-out breakup, if you like. Maybe they would participate in the Champions League next season and maybe they would see out the current TV deal and this would be something that happened in 2 or 3 seasons. But it appears not. They appear to want to do it now. And there seems to be such urgency that it really isn't even clear if those clubs should be allowed to finish the Champions League this season, for example. Because if they're going to leave, if that's what they're going to do, there's really no point in them winning it or contesting it. I think it will happen because UEFA, who are obviously running the Champions League, have already an agreement in place to take in television money. Now, as I understand it, their television deal is worth 3.3 billion for the Champions League, UEFA. If they don't broadcast the matches, then the sponsors and the television companies can quite rightly say, well, hold on a second, we were expecting to see these top clubs here, you're not giving us that, so we're taking your money. So I think the Champions League gets played out. But it is as important as next season. Now, what happens is there with these penalties in terms of the Premier League? Because the Premier League have more or less said that you're not allowed to do this, you're going to be banned. So how does that impact West Ham? And I do realise there'll be other people watching this who won't be West Ham fans. When I say West Ham, you know, and you're an Everton fan or you're a Newcastle fan, you're a Leeds fan, just think your own club, you know, you really do, because it impacts all of us. And we'll get to the Premier League in just a second, actually. What I can't believe, I guess I can believe it, that such a groundbreaking decision would be made without the consultation of the fans. It's absolute madness, because it really is a time for all football to get together. And I don't just mean the clubs that aren't involved in this breakaway scheme. I mean the fans of the clubs that are, because they don't seem to want it at all. This really has got to be, it's just driven by money, driven by greed. I'm not telling you anything you don't know there. But to not consult the fans, for the fans to not have a say, for Liverpool to go off and do this without consulting the Spirit of Shankly is the Liverpool supporters group, and so on and so forth. For all these clubs to do this and leave their fans in limbo is shocking, quite frankly. Now, getting back to the Premier League, they all seem to think that they're going to participate in the Premier League. It didn't seem to enter their heads at all that actually they might be banned. It is so arrogant. They actually just thought, you know what, we're going to break away. It's really condescending. And there you go, good boys. But don't worry, we'll still play in your league. You'll be all right. We'll give you a bit of money. But as I covered in yesterday's video, the disparity in revenue would be huge. They would be earning, at the moment, those big clubs don't earn sort of 10 times more than the other clubs. We discussed this yesterday. But they would be on such a higher plane than the rest of us in the Premier League that realistically there would be no, like with West Ham this season or with Leicester. Certainly Leeds would feel that organically they can buy some players and get higher. Maybe Leeds want to do what West Ham have done this season. Maybe they aspire to do that next season. Wolverhampton Wanderers, that would be out of the question, because the money that they would get, they would just hoover up all of the best players. But they just assumed we're going to play in the Premier League. And I was really pleased to hear the Premier League come out and say, well, hold on, this isn't going to happen. But at the point that that's happened, and there was this joint statement between the Premier League and FIFA and UEFA, and I'll get onto FIFA in just a second, by the way, because there's something a bit fishy going on there. When they released that statement, you may well have seen that the breakaway clubs have launched legal proceedings. They're almost trying to enforce it so as they have to play in the Premier League. So as the players can't be banned from international football. They honestly want their cake and to eat it. Not only that, they actually want to have their cake, they want to eat it, and then they want to vomit it over everybody else. This is absolutely crazy. So they're launching legal proceedings to force FIFA to force FIFA to allow these players to be selected by the national teams. That's nothing to do with that. That's not sporting at all. If that starts, where does it stop? It means you can litigate against any of this stuff. It means if this sets a precedent that actually even someone that's not deserving of a place in a team, for whatever team, can launch proceedings. It's basically saying I have a right. I have a right to be in that team. That's not. It's got to be based on sporting merit. And actually, trying to force your way into a competition in terms of that and trying to force players into teams completely mirrors the unfair and lack of sporting integrity of what they're trying to do by having a closed shop and a breakaway. Yes, they are saying that 5 teams will be able to join in based on their merits and their performance on the previous season. But they're still going to have 15 founder members who can't be relegated. It's still going to be a massive carve-up of money. They're indicating that they're going to give some money for the wider benefit of the game. They're going to give some money to grassroots football. Again, it is completely condescending. This will be nothing but bad for the rest of the clubs. I discussed that yesterday, and I'm not going to go over that particular thing again. But the story is moving so quickly. There was something else in their statement which infuriated me. They said that they were going to build this European Super League to improve. Basically, they even called it a product, and it's not a product, is it? But to improve the game, to improve the performance, the spectacle, and the intensity. Well, look, performance, I couldn't tell you. Performance is only something you can really look at retrospectively and say that was a good performance, that was a bad performance. Spectacle? Really? Who are they concerned with? Spectacle, for something to be a spectacle, somebody's got to watch. Well, who's watching? Because they've already shown that they don't care about the fans. So spectacle for whom? It almost makes it appear, as I said in yesterday's video, that this is not something for the match-going fan. Spectacle for people in their armchairs, basically. What about the intensity? How are you honestly going to have intensity? I don't know if you've ever watched I'm sure you have, watch the Barcelona and Real Madrid derby or any games like that. What has always struck me, and I'm going to use Newcastle example, you get a bit of this at Newcastle. It's a very odd atmosphere. The reason it's an odd atmosphere at Newcastle is the away fans are put right at the back, very, very far away, very high up. So you have this weird atmosphere where you're almost getting one, you're just only really hearing one sound, it's just the home fans. And that's what I found about those derbies, Real Madrid and Barcelona and so on and so forth. They do the same thing, there's almost no away fans there. It's a really weird atmosphere. And that's what you're going to get. Because there's no way, take West Ham for example, our away fans are raucous, they are loud. Everyone's away fans. I'm not saying West Ham's are better than anyone. Well, they are, but you know what I mean. We're loud. We're loud. We take 4,000 fans somewhere, and it's raucous. It's the closest you will get to the old atmosphere at Upton Park is actually at away games where you've got those hardcore fans who go home and away, very loud, sing throughout, stand throughout, because the stewards don't like to tell you to sit down when you're in the away end. If you don't know and you haven't been, that's basically what happens. But what it allows you to do, particularly if the game is in the balance and the home team are maybe a little bit nervous or something like that, it allows a certain amount of back and forth singing between the home fans and the away fans. And believe you me, 4,000 raucous away fans can sing as loud as sort of 15,000 home fans. I mean, they really can. That creates a really lovely atmosphere, which I think is... Look, I've not watched enough of anything anywhere else, but I don't know whether that is exclusive to the Premier League. But it's certainly a feature, and it's certainly something that really builds on the atmosphere. And that also builds on the intensity. they're not going to have that type of intensity. The type of intensity you get at a cup tie where there's an upset, for instance. The type of intensity you get when there's two fans singing at each other, when you're just not going to get that, because there's no way that each season teams are going to be able to take 4,000 or 5,000 fans to a foreign country and be allowed. It's just not going to happen. Also, the novelty wears off. We've been speaking on Hammer's chat about if West Ham qualify for Europe. What's it going to mean? How are we going to do it? It would be special to go away and do a road trip. To go away as West Ham fans and go overseas, jump on the ferry, go and do the thing, book the hotel, book the rooms. It's exciting, it's novel, and it's different. This won't be at all. So I think they're going to lack the intensity. The spectacle? Well, I think the spectacle was lessened as a result of that. As a result of less intensity, as a result of familiarity, as a result of less atmosphere, I think the spectacle was diminished. I really do. This is going to run and run and run. I'm not sure I actually believe it will happen. You know, is this just a negotiating tactic? I think it probably is. But my word, they've gone really far. But if not, what does it actually mean? Not just for next season, but I think about it this season. Because actually, they've got to be firm and they've got to be strong, everybody. And I'm talking about the Premier League, I'm talking about UEFA, and I'll talk about FIFA in just a second. But if this is the case, they cannot allow the season. They must ban them this season or deduct them points or do something just to show them. And actually then contest it in the courts. The football is not poor. Yes, this breakaway is backed by JP Morgan's the tune of 6 billion. Please don't tell me that people in the Premier League, clubs in the Premier League have not got access to some of the best legal minds. Of course they have. Contest this. There's no way that these clubs can force themselves into the Premier League. So the Premier League have to remain strong. UEFA have to remain strong. I'm pretty sure UEFA will, because it's them almost more than anyone who are going to suffer in this. Which leads me to FIFA's weak statement. FIFA condemned it, but we've not heard from, what's that, Infantino, something like that. We've not heard from the president as yet, which is a little bit worrying. I would expect him to come out. And I would, not like that, obviously. Well, wherever it's up to him. He can do what he wants. I don't care what he does as long as he comes out and makes a statement and says exactly what has been hinted at, which is anybody that plays in this tournament will not feature for the national team. You cannot play in international competition. And in the Premier League, have to say, whoever features in this tournament cannot feature in domestic competition. The FA have to say the same. So if they do break away, number one, the clubs know that they are own. This will be it. That will be the only competition they have. They may want to make another one, a cup competition, but it will be lessened because they'll just be playing against those same teams again. And they have to know that they can't participate in domestic leagues. And the players, when a player is choosing to join the Manchester United that is part of the European Super League, he has to know when he's making that decision, I'm not playing in a domestic league. I now no longer can represent my country. If they then go on and decide that it's something they want to do, I'm sure you will hear it's because they want to play at the highest level and not because of the money, but it will be because of the money. I just think it forces a decision on them. And then actually when the domestic league does come around and the atmosphere, we've seen this the Championship. The Championship has great fan attendance, has great atmosphere. You're still going to have great atmosphere at English grounds. You're still going to see West Ham v Newcastle and so on and so forth. And a lot of the clubs I've already mentioned, they're going to be really good, really atmospheric. And those players will look at that and they'll probably miss that. And it'll be a hell of a decision not to feature inside that. And then they'll certainly look at the razzmatazz and look at the huge event that is the World Cup. And think, well, actually, I want to be part of that. They'd look on with jealousy if they weren't part of it. They'd look at the World Cup. And also, you've got to look at the wider world of football as well. Actually, part of the World Cup is playing these other teams. It's not all about Spain and England and Germany. Look how good Croatia have been, for instance. What are they going to think about the best Brazilian players in the world? Brazilian players are, I'm not saying Brazil was more proud or more patriotic than anyone else. Everyone is proud of their country. But I don't think they're really going to want to. If it means you can't represent Brazil, if you can't pull on the blue shorts and yellow top of Brazil, they're not going to want to do it. And what about when that comes around, when Brazil are playing England in the World Cup final and stuff like that? It's like World Cup final. Who am I kidding? But you know what I mean? In the World Cup and contesting these games, that's a hell of a thing to give up. But I think we have got to make sure the punishment is extreme and the punishment is severe, and this has got to be headed off at the pass. There's more to come on this, there really is. But I am worried. I am worried. I'm worried for my club, I'm worried for West Ham, I'm worried for football in general. And I mean, I thought it was, as I said at the start of the video, I was looking at next season, thinking, what is, you know, or the season after. But actually, it's impacting this season. It's impacting this season. And we don't even know what happened. And it was, I saw the article today, West Ham could win the league. I'd love to win the league, but not like this. Not like this. I was quite happy with our sort of organic growth and our Moyes was... I was looking forward to Moyes bringing in players. How are we going to bring in players? We don't know what players we can bring in now. How are we even going to... For instance, sign Jesse Lingard. United don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. Poor old Jesse probably doesn't know what he's doing. It's absolutely ridiculous. We don't know what our budget is because we don't know if what the next TV deal is going to be like for the Premier League. You'd have to imagine it would be diminished as well. I do think there are enough channels, there are enough apps, and there are enough... Someone like Netflix to come in and buy the Premier League and pay a lot of money, and the Premier League would remain rich. But it's an uncertain world, it's an uncertain future. But I do think that these breakaway clubs have got to be brought to heel. Anyway, what was that? That's over 16 minutes. I could talk about this forever. You better get used to it. I'm going to talk about it some more.